Good Wednesday afternoon, everyone, and welcome to NGLCC Webinar Wednesdays. Let's make some virtual noise for that great opening from LGBTBE Ed Factory down in Orlando. Fantastic work. I am NGLCC Senior VP Jonathan Lovitz, and thrilled to be joined by Sabrina Kent, who a lot of you know from Sip and Pitch fame. We are thrilled to be here with you as we have a great conversation with Russ Terry about LinkedIn. Definitely my favorite of the social media platforms, and I'm thrilled we're having this chat today. A few housekeeping reminders that we are recording and streaming on Facebook Live, and that this conversation will be available for everyone to view and share along with an accompanying best practices blog in just a few days after this webinar. So make sure you check that out and our full suite of previously shared webinars at nglcc.org/webinars. Throughout the conversation, you can use the Q&A and chat functions to share your thoughts, feedback, comments, burning questions, all the above with Russ. And Sabrina and I will make sure we get all of those answered. In the event that we run out of time, because it's going to be an action-packed conversation, email us at webinars@nglcc.org, and we're happy to make sure those questions get answered and all the connections and services you need are coming your way. So Sabrina, take it away. Who are we talking to today?
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Welcome, everybody. Great to see over 50 of you here on Zoom with us, and I know more on Facebook Live for today's conversation with Russ. I've been so lucky to get to know Russ over the last few months as he's become acquainted with the NGLCC family. And before I delve into his many years of experience, I want to remind you all, you'll see here on Zoom that I've got my pronouns listed under my name. So before we get started, we always look to build a more inclusive and welcoming community here at NGLCC and at all of our programs. So we ask you to hover over your name or your image on Zoom. You're not going to have an image because we're on webinar, but hover over your name on Zoom in the participant list. You'll find the more icon, and there you will see rename. So we encourage you to add your pronouns after your name, as I've done here on mine, to ensure all are welcome and respected in this space. Gender and pronouns should never be assumed. So whether you're cis, trans, or gender nonconforming, we ask you to do this as we help build a safer and welcoming community for all. So with that, we're going to jump right in. Today we have Russ Terry, and Russ is a coach, motivational speaker, and diversity consultant who has coached over 400 people from companies like Microsoft, Google, JP Morgan, PwC, and more. He's spoken at countless organizations, including the FBI, FedEx, United Airlines, NASA, and L'Oreal. He's also the co-author of a book series on gratitude and the founder and CEO of Life Coach Radio Networks, a certified LGBTBE and podcast platform that 135 coaches from around the world have hosted shows on. Wow, Russ, we are so excited for today's program. I know I need all the LinkedIn love and support I can get, so feel free to take us away.
All right, thank you, Sabrina. I'm grateful to you for this opportunity. I'm gonna take control of the screen so I can share with everyone how they can use LinkedIn to its highest potential so they can reach their highest potential. All right, so we have a bunch of things to get through today, and I'm gonna cram as much awesome knowledge in this as possible. A little about me: I get more than 50% of my six-figure income from LinkedIn. So it's a really fantastic tool. That's probably what inspired so many of you to be here today. And let's get into it. So my headline on LinkedIn, we're going to talk about headline, is Coach and Motivational Speaker, Eradicating Racism and Increasing Diversity and Economic Justice in Companies. The beginning of my About section starts as follows. As a coach, my mission is to make the world a better place, working with individuals, teams, and companies to do it. I help people accomplish their goals, reach their full potential, and live a more robust and healthy life, personally and professionally. We have a bunch of poll questions for you. So first poll question, first way for you to get engaged: what letter grade would you give yourself for your LinkedIn profile and activity? A, B, C, D, or big fat F? And Jonathan's gonna pull up the poll here. Can't wait to see what our results are. So go ahead and answer. What letter grade would you give yourself for your LinkedIn profile and activity? A, B, C, D, or F? Gives me a chance
Love
to sip my
seeing
water.
these votes come in. Yep, we're already over 50% voted. We're going to give you another 10 seconds for the last 20 of you who have yet to vote. Make sure you get that in. All right, we're going to shut down in 3, 2, 1.
All right. Wow, look at that. B, the letter grade B at 39%, followed by C, D, and A. Just a few Fs. Looking good.
Awesome. Well, this is great to see, and thank you everybody for answering. So it seems like virtually everyone has room for improvement on your LinkedIn, and you came to the right place. So in terms of the things that we're going to talk about today, the headshot is number one, and we'll get into details on that in a few. The headline, the about section used to be called the summary section, your experience section, recommendations, the number of connections, and activity or posting updates. So those 7 objectives, plus there are a couple more newish things on LinkedIn that are just off the presses that I added into this presentation. We'll share those with you also. All right, so generating business, whether you are coming to this as a certified LGBT business owner, whether you're a chamber member, a chamber leader, we're all about generating business. We want to find new partnerships, new people to collaborate with. You may even be in a position to hire top talent. Sometimes finding the right contacts to create those win-win situations can be tough. So where do you start? Well, you start by optimizing your profile. And I'm going to go to my LinkedIn profile a lot today, and I'm going to basically go from top down to the bottom. So if we go to my LinkedIn, all right, the first thing that you see is my URL in the upper left of the screen. So linkedin.com/in/Russ Terry. So one important thing for you to do is to have a custom URL, because if you look at this presentation, when you sign up for LinkedIn, they give you an alphanumeric random code URL, like this Bob Jones guy, and I changed the name. His name isn't really Bob Jones. I didn't want to call him out on here. But that alphanumeric code at the end is just kind of messy. So it's best to customize your name instead. And I'm going to show you how right now. So what you want to do is go to the upper right on your screen and click Edit Public Profile and URL. So click Edit Public Profile and URL, and then edit your custom URL also in the upper right. So I'm going to click on that. Now, I'm not actually going to change it because I want to keep Russ Terry. That's my name. I don't want any of the other Russ Terrys to get it. But you can go in here. So Sabrina could have Sabrina Kent, etc. So you want to go in here and change it to something quick and easy and non-alphanumeric. All right, so that's the first piece, the custom URL. That's the first thing at the top. Next thing down the profile is your picture. And obviously, you want to have a picture on here. Members with profile photos are more than 7 times more likely to be found in searches. So if people are coming on LinkedIn to look for a service provider, you want to make sure you have a picture so you can be their service provider. LinkedIn, John said a second ago that LinkedIn is his favorite social media. Mine too. I like to say that it's the social media for people who have money to spend on our services. Social media for people who have money to spend on our services. When they're on Instagram, they might be like laying in bed, laying on the couch. They're not in business mode. When people are on LinkedIn, they're in business mode. So you want to make sure your LinkedIn is top notch so you can get them when their wallet is out and they're ready to spend money. All right, so have a picture. So here's another quiz for you. Which of these 6 profile photos are appropriate for a LinkedIn profile? And you can just put this in the chat. So 1 is in the upper left, then 2 and 3 across the top, and then 4 is in the lower left, 5 and 6. So, and again, you can just put this in the chat. Which of these do you think is appropriate for a LinkedIn profile? Lane says 5 and 6. Brian, 5 and 6. All right, lots of 5s and 6s. Yes, so only 5 and 6. Great job, everybody. Only those are the best. So number 1 is an actual profile picture. That's what it looks like if you don't have a picture. So obviously you don't want that. Number 2, it looks like she's maybe in a living room in a suburban house and it's not well lit. So that one isn't good. Number 3, he kind of looks like a deer in headlights. Also, it's dark in the background. It looks like he might have been at a wedding or some other kind of non-business event. Business tends to take place during the day, so you want to have a picture that looks like it was taken during the day. Number 4 is good. It's better than the others. She works in the tennis industry, and she's at the USTA National Tennis Center here in New York City. But somebody who isn't a tennis fan might not know that. Also, her knees are cut off. So it's good to have a picture of where you work and the types of things you do, but you want to make sure that you are excellent about it. And then 5 and 6 are excellent. Kudos to both of them for having a great picture. All right, so here's some don'ts as far as LinkedIn profile photo are concerned. Number 1, don't have a selfie or anything too close. You know, it shouldn't be like this. You want a headshot. Typically, headshot is from the chest up. So that's a good framing. Don't use something with poor lighting. Don't have messy or distracting hair. And again, these things seem obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people on LinkedIn violate that recommendation, if you will. Don't use a picture with other people clearly cropped out of it. Like it looks like, you know, you're up against the side and you might even see like a hand on your shoulder. You don't want anything like that. Don't have a picture that's off strategy or if someone can't tell what you're doing. And don't stand up against a wall. It's a LinkedIn profile picture, not a mugshot. Hopefully none of you will ever have a mugshot in your life. You don't want that on LinkedIn. All right, so those are the don'ts. Let's see about the do's. Do obviously have a profile photo. Make sure it's well lit. Be creative. Consider the ideal headshot distance. So again, from the chest up, if you are standing in front of a wall, you want to be at least 3 to 6 feet away from the wall. So this wall behind me is far enough back that I'm not standing up against it. It's a little bit blurry in the background, etc. The ideal scenario, and if you do have a professional photographer, which you don't need to, but if you do, they'll probably have you in the foreground and something in the background that's a little blurry. Smile and show your teeth. It doesn't have to be, but it should at least be some teeth. And then use your phone if you don't have access to a professional photographer. As you all know, our phones take incredible pictures these days. So I've taken countless LinkedIn profile photos for clients with my phone, their phone, etc. As long as it's well lit and follows these guidelines, we're in good shape. All right,
Russ,
so let me pause there.
Yes, perfect.
Great minds think alike, Sabrina.
Exactly.
I love it.
We're on the same page today.
Yes.
So we got 2 questions here that I think it's important that we address right up at the front. The first is, if I don't have a professional pic, what about a passport picture?
No, because they purposely make you not smile in a passport picture. So definitely not.
And no earrings, hair behind the ears like me today. Understood. Another question is, Russ, your LinkedIn headshot is not a headshot. Your head is very small, especially on the search results list. I've been told that the LinkedIn headshot should be a headshot and you can use the banner photo for something else. What's your thought?
Yeah, so for me personally, I would say it's from a little bit below the chest up, and I get a lot of really great feedback on this picture. It was taken in the median on Park Avenue here in New York City, so you see, and I'm not going to click on it because when I click on it, it shows me trying to edit it, which I don't want to edit it, but I think as a life coach and motivational speaker, I'm going for something warm and approachable. So the leaning in, the flowers, the nature, that carries the vibe that I'm trying to give. But when I look at it on my laptop or phone, it looks like an appropriate distance, at least from my standpoint. But thanks for that question.
Agreed. And folks, we'll show you a larger version of Russ's photo during the Q&A portion of today's program, so you can get the full idea of that welcoming headshot environment that Russ has created with his photo.
Excellent. Any other questions on the photos, Sabrina?
It looks like we're all set. Take it away.
Okay. By the way, when we are at the custom URL, it makes it really easy to share your custom URL with others. So I just put mine in the chat. If you're inspired to connect as a result of our session today, I would certainly love to be connected with you. All right,
Russ, the question that we just got in the Facebook Live chat was about your custom URL. If you have other social media accounts, should they be consistent? Should you be at Russ Terry across everything so people can find you?
Yeah, the ideal scenario is yes. Now, when you started your business, were you able to get all of them? Not necessarily, or maybe not. You'll see at the end of mine, the two main ones that I use are Russ Terry and Russ Terry Life Coach. So you can find me as Russ Terry on some social media and Russ Terry Life Coach on others. So I've tried to at least have just those two, if you will. Obviously, when I started my business back 8.5 years ago, if I would have had the foresight that I was going to be much more than just a life coach, a motivational speaker, a diversity consultant, etc., I probably would have gone with just Russ Terry for everything. So that's a valid question. And I would say sometimes you can pivot based on how your business pivots. All right, so those are all the tips on photos. Thanks everybody for the great questions. Next up is the headline. So here you want to highlight what makes you different. Speak directly to your audience and use keywords to be found in the LinkedIn search. So this woman, Juliana, says she's an experienced multi-channel marketing, product marketing, and marketing operations leader. So she uses 3 different sets of keywords that people looking for this type of expertise might find her via. So if Sabrina was looking for multi-channel marketing, she might find Juliana. If Jonathan was looking for product marketing, he might find Juliana. If one of our attendees, Brian Gorman, is looking for a market operations leader, he might find Juliana. So all of these things are really great. So she obviously gets an A here for her headline. All right, quiz time again. And again, 1, 2, 3 are across the top, 4, 5, 6 across the bottom row. Which of these 6 headlines work well in a LinkedIn profile? So the first person had nothing. Second person just had their organization, Stanford Children's Health. Third person says, I want to leave things better than how I found them and strive to make a difference to the lives of others. Fourth person says Reuters journalist covering US financial enforcement and insurance. You get the idea. All right, let's see what we have in the chat. So you can have multiple answers here. I like the person that said 4, 5, and 6. Kudos to Jane, also to Stephen. They're the first 2 with the right answers. Yeah, so I would say this bottom row is all great. And I'm gonna get into the headlines more in a second, but a headline is just that. If you think about whatever websites you read to get your news content, they have a headline at the top of the article. You want to do the same thing on top of your LinkedIn. So if we go back to my profile, again, my headline is Coach and Motivational Speaker, Eradicating Racism and Increasing Diversity and Economic Justice in Companies. And I have specifically gained new connections since I changed that about a month or 2 ago because of the headline. The things that I said in the headline resonated with people. So you want to put it there because, again, it's the headline of your page. It's the first thing that they see before they see anything else. Some tips on headline are as follows. So in terms of your options here, you can do your title at your job, which is what many or most people have. But this doesn't tell the visitor to your profile the full breadth of what you do. So you wouldn't want to say business owner at XYZ Incorporated. You want to tell the visitor more. So the 2 options are, 1, using a clause or sentence to describe what you do and how you do it. Again, mine is coach and motivational speaker, eradicating racism and increasing diversity and economic justice in companies. or you can use bullet points if you do many things. So this was my headline before the last month or two. So I said coach, motivational speaker, gratitude expert, trainer, CGO, chief gratitude officer, and HR and diversity consultant. So I'm packing a lot of different things in there so that people know I'm a multipreneur. I do a lot of different things. Whatever they need for themselves personally or their organization, chances are I can do it to help. So I would say if you have a focus on one or two things, then the sentence or phrase or clause approach is probably better. If you do a lot of different things, then the bullet point approach is probably better. The bullet, by the way, the thing that I use is above the enter key. It's above the backslash above the enter key, just in case you're wondering where I got that little line between each of them. All right, so those are some of the key parts on headline. Let me pause there. Sabrina, any questions from the group on the headline?
Not so far. Looks like you've done a thorough job.
Excellent.
I will admit that I just went in and updated mine with that, realizing I'm not nearly as up to date as yours. So this is very real-time news you can use. Thank you, Russ.
Excellent. Live on NGLCC TV, Russ Terry. Right. Now back to you, Sabrina and Jonathan. No, I'm just kidding. I'm still the anchor here. All right. Well, we're certainly happy to get questions. If you have them on headline, fire away. All right, the next thing that we're going to talk about is the providing services section, which is a new section on LinkedIn. So if up until this point you've been doing everything and you've had it already on your profile, maybe you were a B, this is one of those areas that you might not have yet. So let's go to my profile just as an example. So the providing services section is here under my picture, name, and headline, and these are the different things I do. Career development coaching, executive coaching, interview prep, leadership development, life coaching, public speaking, HR consulting, diversity and inclusion, and training. Now, I just added training today. I didn't realize it wasn't there. So if you already have this and you want to add to it, you can just click the pencil next to providing services, and it will give you a whole bunch of different options of what to add. So you can click add service, and I could type in here, let's say social media marketing is something I want to add. I just start typing it and it comes up. I would click it and it gets added to the end. Now, I obviously don't want to do that. That's not one of the things that I focus on. So that's what to do if you already have providing services. If you don't have it yet and you want to add, here are the instructions for how to do it. So go to your profile page, and I'll stay on this screen for a while in case you want to take a picture of these instructions. That way you can go back to it later. So visit your profile page from the app or on your laptop. And if this feature is turned on for you, which hopefully it is, you'll see a box under your profile photo and headline that talks about how to showcase the services you provide. Click add services and then fill out the form to provide details about the services that you provide. So certainly for all of our business entities that are on the webinar today, if you own a business, you want to make sure that you're using the providing services feature on LinkedIn so that people can hire you once they see specifically all the different things you do. Questions on that piece? All right. So next up is the About section. And the About section used to be called the Summary. It was changed maybe about a year or so ago. So here is the next polling question. And this is the next thing down on your profile after the providing services. Mine, as you may recall, is as a coach, my mission is to make the world a better place, working with individuals, teams, and companies to do it. I help people accomplish their goals, reach their full potential, and live a more robust and healthy life, personally and professionally. I focus mostly on executive coaching and career coaching, described below. All right, so next
Hey, Russ.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. We did just have one question come in on the last piece. How do they turn on providing services? Because some folks can't find the feature.
So because I already have it, I couldn't figure out how to add it, since I probably added it when this came out a month or two ago. So Sabrina and Jonathan, if neither of you have it yet, you might be able to do it.
I do not have it, so perhaps at the end of the program we can do a share screen on my side and I can try and figure it out with your help.
Excellent.
And then one more question, Russ, sorry, is
It's okay.
where do you suggest folks put their pronouns in?
Oh, gold star question to whoever gave that. So what I typically see, and shame on me that I don't have these yet, is you would do it under your name or after your name. And some people do here. So if I wanted to put it after Terry Jr., I could do he, him, his here after Terry Jr. Let me hit save. So now when you go to my LinkedIn, gold star, somebody coaching the coach, I love it. Now you see he, him, his when you come to my LinkedIn page. Thank you to whoever had that question. I love it.
Great question. And we did just drop in a link in the chat from LinkedIn itself about the Open for Business tools, which include how you can do your provided services and skills, and also a few other elements in there. And it's got a line to a help desk if anyone's got any trouble. So you're off the hook, Russ. You don't have to coach everybody one-on-one.
10 gold stars to you, Jonathan. Thank you. You're the best. YTB. All right. So now back to the About section. So this is your chance to expand on your headline. You want to tell your story in first person. I was inspired to become a blank. The first 2 to 3 lines are what people will see when they come to your page. And again, you saw those on my page. Here's an example. I've been passionate about tennis ever since I was a kid. To work in tennis every day is a dream come true. I help everyone, regardless of age, experience the many benefits of tennis. The last time I did this webinar was at the USTA, the US Tennis Association. So we had a specific example for them, but you get the idea. You want to tell your story here. A resume is really dry and doesn't really tell your story. But LinkedIn is a really great combination of the dry resume and your person, your personality. All the other social media, it's all about you. And LinkedIn is a great blend of you and the stuff from the resume together to create your professional profile. Later in the About section, you can summarize your experience, 8 years in marketing, the last 4 in sports marketing, etc. So tell your story. All right, so here's our next poll question. What letter grade would you give yourself for your About section?
Okay, we're about to launch that. And so everyone knows it's actually great timing because this was actually connected to the first question. But now that you've seen some really good examples of what an about could and should be, some of you might change your answers. So here we go. All right, 30 seconds.
By the way, I have a great article on the About section. LinkedIn wrote it last year when it was still called the summary, but it still has lots of great best practices. So I'm going to share that in the chat so that if people want to click on it, they can.
All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, share those results. Looks like people's attitudes definitely improved. I think you made them feel, everybody feel a lot better about their About section. Good job, Russ.
Excellent. That's great. Okay, good to see. So A is our biggest, B is still our biggest category, but A is our second biggest category. Love it. Excellent. All right. Thank you, everybody, for answering the poll questions. So let's see here. Any questions? Let me pause there. Any questions on the About section?
Well, sort of a general question here, but I think it's important as we're contextualizing today's conversation. Are there any differences in features for free profiles versus paid?
Oh, I get that question all the time. Great question, whoever asked that. I personally think you don't have to have the premium version of LinkedIn. Every single thing I'm showing you today is part of the free version of LinkedIn. So You don't have to have the premium version. LinkedIn obviously has a business to run, so they have that, especially for recruiters or companies that are using it to hire, but you don't have to have that. And I personally don't think that you need it. Great question, though. And here's the About section. I just put it in the chat, so thank you for asking about that. All right, any other questions on the About section?
I was told that using emojis in the About section gives it a fun spin. What are your thoughts, Russ?
I haven't officially seen that, but I think if people want to, they could. I personally don't use emojis on here. Yeah, so I personally don't use them, but if someone has a burning desire to, go for it. All right, next up is another newish section on LinkedIn called the featured section. So let me go back to my LinkedIn. So that is under the About section. Here I have a PowerPoint on the workshop series presentation topics. So these are the 33 different topics I can speak to an organization about, LinkedIn and the 32 other topics. And this is really great. The third bullet here, my newest potential corporate gig, which is in the Hamptons, by the way. I'm so excited. The operations manager there was perusing this section. She was perusing my featured section, and she found stuff relevant to her organization. Hopefully the gig will happen in a few weeks. And she literally said, oh, well, we're most interested in your gratitude at work, everybody wins ideas, energy at work. And I was like, oh my gosh, how does she have those topics? Oh, that's right. She must have looked at my featured section. So that builds the business case to have something here in the featured section. It's a great place for a PowerPoint, video, etc. This is a really important sentence, this last bullet here, and hopefully everybody will remember this. LinkedIn is basically functioning as your website, but it's easier for people because they don't have to find and go to your website. She just had to remember, oh yeah, I had Russ as a speaker back in September last year, so almost a year ago. I know I'm connected to him on LinkedIn. Let me just pull up his LinkedIn. Boom, self-service. She sees everything she needs, and then she reaches out with money to spend and says, hey, I would like to hire you. That's how LinkedIn works. It's literally like magic Google. She doesn't have to remember anything. She just has to remember my name, and everything is right here at her fingertips. Make sense? I love seeing the two of you smile, by the way. LinkedIn gets me so excited. I'm a LinkedIn nerd. I admit it. All right. Any questions on the featured section?
I think we're good to go.
Okay. Next up is the activity section, and this too is newly remodeled. So you'll see my activity section here. It says 7,416 followers. If everybody today wants to connect with me on LinkedIn, I see 12 people have already. I'll be closer to my goal of 7,500 people, just saying. All right, so in the activity section, if you were coming to my page, you would see lots of comments on other people's things, which is really important. Success and happiness and business and life is all about good energy. So in addition to the things I'm posting, I want to comment on other people's posts. It shows good energy, it shows engagement. And when you put that out into the universe is likely to give back to you. People are going to feel like, you know what, that Russ is a good guy. I think I want to hire him to do my webinar or whatever. So then if you go to see all activity on your page, usually what I do is go to my posts. So this is where I can see the traction I'm getting, the engagement I'm getting on my posts. So this last one from 3 days ago is reminding people to take their vacation time. So you can see 27 likes, 10 comments, 1,300 plus views. I'm giving this LinkedIn talk again next week. So I posted a graphic promoting that. I can see, okay, almost 1,000 views, 24 likes, 9 comments. A couple weeks ago, my prior post got a whole lot of engagement, 51 likes, 20 comments, more than 3,000 views. So you can see on here what type of engagement your different posts are getting. And obviously to have 3,000 plus views of people who are using this tool to spend money, that can potentially help me get future engagements. So
Well,
having activity here on LinkedIn is really important. The new thing
Russ,
on
we have
here.
a quick question on that.
Yeah, go for
It's a
it.
question that came in pre-webinar. We love when people get so excited about the topic, they send us questions in advance, which is awesome. So a few folks actually had asked about the algorithm. Do you know, can you, it's intuitive that the more you share, the more you post, the more you link to other people and their articles, the better the algorithm sort of pushes you and what you care for to the top. Are there best practices around that? Should people use the same model that they use around Facebook and Twitter around engagement?
So my personal theory on that is to look at my own posts and to see which get the most engagement. And the ones that I get the most engagement on are actually original posts. So not a graphic like this one. Again, not that there's anything wrong with it, but this one about this Syracuse University free coaching Friday program that we started, I tagged a couple people in it. So that helped with engagement with the algorithm. They commented. Then in the comments, I tagged a couple other people that helped to make it happen. So that helped. Obviously, you can see in the blue are all the hashtags and the people that I mentioned. So things like that help. So then I'll know, okay, a post like this was my most popular post in the last month. What's the next opportunity to make a post like this?
That's great. And actually the perfect follow-up to that is, should you put those links and those resources in the post itself or in the comments? And it seems like these algorithms are always changing, but the comments tend to be the place where you seem to get the most traction on links and shares.
Exactly, because in this other LinkedIn webinar that I'm doing next week, I did post the link at the end of my verbiage there, and that's the one that got the lowest. So I'm not an expert in algorithms, but what I do know from my own experience is when you post a link, you actually, get less engagement than when you don't post a link, because these platforms don't want you to click a link and go elsewhere. They want you to stay on here. So I personally would not post a link if you can avoid it.
Awesome. Great tip.
Excellent. You're welcome. All right. So here's the new feature on LinkedIn. It now calls you out if you don't have activity. So here's what it says. And this would be right here if I go back in the activity section. So right here where you can see that I do have activity. If the person doesn't have activity there, and I saw a couple examples of this today when I was doing research, obviously I didn't want to call those people out, but this is what it says. Posts John created, shared, or commented on in the last 90 days are displayed here. So that line indicates that the person had zero activity on LinkedIn in the last 90 days. They didn't post anything. They didn't comment on anything. They didn't even like one post. So again, this is all about the energy that you put out into the world. And I don't know about you, but I want to put out good energy. So if I see a great post, I like it, I comment on it, etc. So again, LinkedIn and happiness and success are all about good energy. And I think you want to make sure this is not you, where there's that new line, post John created, shared, or commented on in the last 90 days are displayed here. Make sense? Okay. So here's our next poll question. Did you post on LinkedIn in the last week? So this is creating an original post, kind of like those that you saw from me. So Jonathan or Sabrina will pull up that poll question momentarily.
All righty, folks, get voting.
Thank you, Sabrina.
While
Thank you,
folks are
Jonathan.
answering, the poll, Russ, we had a question come in, both related to content. The first is, where's the best place to put videos in their personal page or their company's page, and then reposting it to their personal page? And do you think that politics and religion should stay off of LinkedIn?
So I'll answer the second question first. Yes. Now, obviously, I'm a proponent against racism, but I don't think that falls under politics or religion. And then as far as the videos go, I would say try out different things. Personally, our personal page depending on the size of our business, may get more engagement than our business page. But if you've grown your business to the point that your business now has more followers than your personal page, then I would post it from the business. But I would, in the beginning, post the video from both places and see what the engagement is on both. And then going forward, kind of go where there's the most engagement.
Excellent. Great advice. And I'm going to share these results.
Oh, darn. A little more than half the people did not post to LinkedIn this week. Well, we're here to change that. So to post on LinkedIn, you want to just go to your homepage, and right at the top, it says start a post. And you can, I think the different options here, number one option is to post original content of yours. So 4 lines, a short paragraph on something you specifically are doing or have done recently that is going to be interesting and or helpful to the people in your audience. Now, you can share a graphic, you can share a link to an article, but your original content is, in all my experience on here, the number one way to generate content. As we saw, if you tag others, that can help the engagement in the post, especially if they're involved in the project. All right, so let me ask the group, Sabrina, who has an idea on what you can post an update on or about? And Sabrina, I'm optimistic and hopeful that somebody will have something in the chat. Who has an idea on what you can post an update on or about?
So Lane says, I just posted, so many coming in. I had a call today from a woman whose mom passed away. She called to say how much her mom loved me and my staff. Mom always said she would never change insurance because Lane always takes care of me. I love hearing these reports. Somebody else says they posted yesterday's podcast. They could post about attending this webinar. Somebody else says, I post short form versions of my blog posts. Somebody else says, I am going to post about this webinar. Another person says, work, your story, your business, tips and tricks, webinars, etc. Oh, I would say awards. Oh, somebody else just says diversity awards given by Utah Business Magazine, which includes our chamber and other diverse chambers. A comment on article or publication from people that you follow. We're launching 2 new flavors at Shine Water, and I'll be posting about our flavors once it's public info. Well, I guess we've been the first to hear. So those are some great tips.
Those are all great. And for those of you specifically that said you're going to post about this webinar, first of all, thank you. I really appreciate that. It's very nice of you, kind of you. That's good energy. Also, if you tag me in the post, I'll be sure to like it, to comment on it. So that helps us develop more of a relationship. And we haven't talked about this too much, but LinkedIn is all about networking, developing relationships. During this terrible pandemic that we're now past the 5-month mark, cultivating relationships with people online is more important than ever. So those 2 people that mentioned that, when I comment on their post, that helps us start to cultivate a relationship. And who knows, maybe I could buy business from them, maybe they could buy business from me, maybe we have a collaboration idea. Or maybe we just enjoy meeting somebody new that we respect and value. So for me personally, I try to post on LinkedIn at least once a week. You know, you don't have to be a preteen on Snapchat about it and posting every 15 or 30 minutes or so. Even something like once a week is great for your original content. And then during the week, liking, commenting, etc. on other people's posts. All right, any other questions on the activity piece on LinkedIn? Okay, next up is the experience section. So this is basically a cut and paste from your resume, if you will. And let me just go back to my profile. And what I usually say about experience is you want it to be an upside down pyramid. In other words, the most experience should be for your current job or career, unless you just started a new job. But I would guess for most of the people on this webinar today, you've been doing it for at least a little while. So the most experience at the top, second most after that, etc. You don't need to say too much about the job or jobs you had 10 plus years ago. You know, you can mention them in something brief. Use bullets, but not paragraphs. So in the about section that we already talked about, there you would want to have paragraphs telling your story. You can have some bullets, but here in the experience section, this is the part that looks like a resume. It should be a simple cut and paste from your resume. So you want to have bullets. That's what people are looking for when they get to this section. The number one issue I see either on resumes or in the experience section is something called faulty parallelism. So you don't want to have faulty parallelism. That basically means that your bullets are starting all different kind of ways. So you want to make sure that each bullet in your current experience, you use a present tense action verb as the first word. So present tense action verb in the first word. So if you go to mine under coach, it says coach, provide, ask, listen, give. Coach, provide, ask, listen, give. So right away, first word, people know exactly what it is that I do. And then in your prior jobs, you would use past tense action verbs as the first word in each bullet for your past jobs. So present tense action verbs for anything you're doing currently, past tense for anything prior. Comments or questions on that?
Well, okay, so I think you sort of answered it when you showed yours, but somebody's asking, how do you handle more than one business at a time if you're presently working for both? So
I'll expand. Yes. So for me, I have multiple things that I do, as you've probably gleaned already. So the main thing is coach, motivational speaker, and diversity consultant. So when you click this see more in my section, you have the coach bullet, the coach section and the bullets on that. Then the motivational speaker section, present, use, speak, listen, offer are the first words in each of them. Then the diversity consultant part, assess, facilitate, tap into, push back, and team with are the next set of bullets, all under diversity consultant. And then people consultant, tap into, work with, function as, give, and make. So again, all present tense verb as the first word in the bullet. And then you can see I have some other side hustles, teaching webinars like this for Learn It Live, teaching classes for the American Management Association. So again, those I still have on here just below my main thing, and you can put them in order as long as it's current with what your most important one is. And I have them in the order that I want to have them. And of course, the first word in each bullet is a present tense verb. All right, great question. Thank you, Sabrina. Next up, endorsements and recommendations. So, how many recommendations do you have? Time for our next poll question. This is a good one. I know at least one that Sabrina has because I wrote it for her since she's so darn amazing. So how many LinkedIn recommendations do you have? None, 1 or 2, 3 to 5, 6 to 10, or 11 plus. So these are basically like Google reviews or testimonials. So again, you want to have them on here. The more you have, the better. I'm going to show you my screen. I'm scrolling down to the recommendations. You can see that I have had 23 of them, including 2 just in the last 6 weeks or so. So number 1, you want to have a lot of them. Number 2, you want to make sure you're getting them every few months or so that people can see, okay, he does a great job and he's done a great job very recently.
We're going to give 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1.
Here we go.
And I'm ashamed to say that I only have one recommendation, but that's from you, Russ. So I'm also very thankful at the same time.
Well, which brings up the perfect question, Russ, that we just got over the Facebook Live, which is, how do I ask for them without being that person?
Well, I'm going to tell you and whoever asked exactly how to do that. All right. So everybody, this is what you want to do to ask for recommendations. All right, so I'm going to tell you now. So first, you want to reach out to the person in however you would typically speak to them. So if Sabrina and I mostly communicate via email, I'll do it via email. If I have a super happy new client that he and I talk on WhatsApp or text, I'll ask him via WhatsApp or text. So number 1, ask the person to do it in whatever way you normally communicate with them. And notice I said normally communicate with. So you want it to be somebody that you normally communicate with, not somebody that you haven't talked to in 3 to 5 years, and now you're finally getting around to updating your LinkedIn. So you want to go with recent people because it feels a lot less awkward to ask if you're engaging in regular contact with the people. All right, so once the person says yes, that they will give you a recommendation, you want to go to their page on LinkedIn. So let me go to Jonathan's page. And Jonathan, I'm just going to show people very briefly. So Jonathan, great headline, superstar, A+, love it. So if Jonathan has said yes, he will write me a recommendation. I'm going to click on more. So right here next to the message box, I'm going to click on more and then scroll down to request a recommendation. So then I'm going to select our relationship. So let's say that based on this webinar, he wants to write a recommendation on me. So maybe I'll say, Jonathan worked with you, but at different companies. And then select my position at the time, coach, motivational speaker, etc. Then you click next, and it gives you a line. I usually change this. I might say something like, thanks again for writing this recommendation. And then I would click send. It would go to his inbox. He would write it, send it back to me. I get the chance to review it. And as long as I like what I see, which I know I would, then I would just click publish to profile, and it would be there on my page as the most recent recommendation. Any more questions on the recommendation demo? Okay, so some other points on the recommendation. So you should have at least 2 or 3, ideally in the last year or so. And again, the more the better. You want to make sure that you're getting them at least every 3 months. So at least 1 recommendation a quarter. It's an excellent way for visitors to your profile to see how amazing you are. Remember, people may not even be going to your website. They might just be coming to your LinkedIn. When people say excellent things about you in your normal discussions with them, ask them to write a recommendation on here. And again, we did the demo on the screen to see how to request it. All right, so next up is contacts. So the ideal scenario is to have the coveted 500 plus connections on LinkedIn. So this means that when somebody comes to your page, they'll see 500 plus. If you have less than that, it shows the actual number. So luckily, Jonathan has 500 plus connections. You see it here right under his headline. I'm going to go back to my profile, 500 plus connections. So that's the ideal number. It shows that you're passionate about networking, you're a well-connected person, and you mean business. All right, I'm just going to scroll through some of these last few slides because I know we're almost to the top of the hour. Usually when I give this, we talk about also having in-person interactions. Because of COVID, obviously we're not doing that, so that builds the business case even more for connecting on LinkedIn. Here's my contact info. I would certainly love to stay connected with you. Thank you to you can see on my screen, 24 of you that have requested me on LinkedIn. My chief of staff is going to be super busy today helping me go through those. For those of you that haven't, I'll put my custom URL in the chat one more time. But now, happy to answer any and all other questions that people have.
Russ, that's a perfect transition to a burning question in our box, which is, do you accept every connection?
Oh, great point. All right, so this is what I do, and I think this
accept all 24 amazing NGLCC constituents who are part of
no. So everybody today, I'm going to accept, I'm going to write back, etc. But one of the things that I typically see is there are a lot of people out there who are, how can I say this? Trying to sell their product and services to coaches. So I get countless requests that say, we help coaches get more clients. Well, no offense to them and their business, but I get a lot of clients through my own personal network, through LinkedIn. So I don't necessarily want to pay somebody to help me get clients. I'm good. I have a robust business already. So for people like that are trying to sell me for something like that, I immediately ignore them. And again, I get a lot of those. Also, because I'm an author, I get ghost writers hitting me up on LinkedIn, trying to, I guess, become a ghostwriter for me, as if I wouldn't write my gratitude books myself. So those people I ignore too. So I would say if the person seems like they're selling you something and you're not interested in buying, then you can hit ignore. But if it's something where you're interested, genuinely interested in connecting with them, or they look like they might be a potential client or customer, then I would absolutely accept them.
Excellent. And I definitely feel you on those, get a lot of those, hey, recruiter emails or
Yes.
the love to sell you on this product for the chamber. So a couple questions that came in before the program, and thank you to the individual that sent these over. The first is, can you share your thoughts on the benefits and or pitfalls of following groups, organizations, or companies on a LinkedIn profile?
Yeah, so I think it's great to follow groups, follow people. One of the great new things on LinkedIn is there's a feature on your connections or network page that talks about Black voices to follow and amplify, which I really love. So whenever you go on there, it gives you different Black CEOs, Black business owners to follow, especially doing the work that I do. I found that to be really important. But also just being a good person and helping to raise up the Black community is something that I look at as an all-in initiative. So that's my number one category or group to follow on here. But for anything that you're interested in, I encourage you to follow it.
That's excellent, Russ. Thank you. And then that actually sort of jumps right into the next question is, could you share your views on what it takes for somebody to become a thought leader on LinkedIn? And should every entrepreneur strive for this? Or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I guess I'm probably informally a thought leader on LinkedIn. And I work hard at it because it's part of my business. I do a lot of career coaching and I help people with their LinkedIn. So I want to make sure I'm up on all of the latest and greatest things on here so I can help myself and help my clients. Now, if your business is totally different from LinkedIn, and being knowledgeable about LinkedIn isn't necessarily something that's one of the main things you're focusing on, I don't think you have to be recognized as a thought leader on here, but it's certainly good to use it well and have an excellent profile.
Great suggestions, Russ. And then we just have a couple more, and I know we're getting over time here, folks, but you have so many great questions. I want to make sure that we can capture Russ's attention while we have him. So
grateful for all the great questions.
Yes, grateful guy today for sure. So this says, I used to regularly send birthday greetings and job change congrats, etc. I did this to stay top of mind. I never saw an ROI on time. Do you recommend this, or is it just annoying?
So I don't do the birthday stuff, but I do send a message to everybody that I know personally that does get a new job. And I don't do what LinkedIn recommends me to send. I make it personalized, at least a few lines. But one of my newer clients this year, just in the last few months, that's how I got him as a client, because I saw that he changed companies and I said, congrats on the new role. Great job updating your LinkedIn for it. And he reached out and said, I know we first met a few years ago. I thought about working with you. I'm ready to start now. So by me doing that, there was a direct return on investment that absolutely helped.
Excellent, Russ. Thank you. And then final question before we do the quick screen share so we can try to find professional services on mine. If someone wants to post on LinkedIn, should they practice smart brevity or go for the full story?
I personally think you get the most engagement with a short paragraph, 4 or so lines. And when I showed you my activity, you kind of saw the engagement. I have written articles on LinkedIn, which are more long form posts, and they don't get nearly as much engagement as the short posts.
Got it. Thank you. So content, keep it short, simple, and sweet and to the point. So let's see if I can share screen here and if we can help folks find the professional services piece of things
Oh,
here.
yes,
So,
thank you. Yes, so the
or
providing services should be, at least according to the article, on your profile. Do I have to stop sharing or you have it already? Okay,
Oh, we
perfect.
got it.
Okay.
got it. So can everybody see
Oh,
my page?
showcase
Is it?
services, get started. I'm gonna write that
Yeah.
down. Amazing.
I'll even do a screen grab for you here, Russ, so that you can put that into your future deck.
Perfect.
So
YTB, you're the best.
now we know that we can showcase our services here. For folks that have challenges, I recommend reaching out to LinkedIn support. They're very helpful in that regard. Jonathan is going to boot me off this screen so you don't have to keep looking. But look, 4 more of you have requested me. That's a total of 16
awesome.
during this webinar. So job well done to Russ. And then the final question that we're going to answer today, folks, is do you recommend using hashtags on posts?
Yes, absolutely. And you can see that in that those posts that I shared, I probably had maybe 5 to 10 hashtags that I used, and that definitely helps. And as a viewer of it, it makes it visually more appealing. So absolutely.
Absolutely. And I want to Russ's point about making sure you post regularly, we want to help you do that by having great, fresh content. Check the chat box. There is a link in there about telling your story through an NGLCC spotlight. One of the best ways to brag about your business is to let us do it for you. And then you've got fresh content that will live at the NGLCC blog that you can then link to your LinkedIn and share it with potential customers and vendors that want to get to know you on a personal level. So let us help tell your story because you're going to be part of inspiring the next generation of great leaders on LinkedIn and around the world. So take advantage of this free opportunity. We want to help you tell your great story.
That is excellent, Jonathan, because right before this webinar started, I was actually tagged in a post by an LGBTVE whose spotlight was just published. And I was just seeing all the notifications roll in the last hour that we've been on this call. So definitely a great way to utilize the power of the NGLCC media team and our network to build your own network as well. I want to say thank you so much, Russ, for sharing all of this wisdom with us today. Folks, I know you're asking, you want to revisit all of this content, no problem. nglcc.org/webinars. Jonathan's going to put that up on the screen here for you to be able to go back and see our webinars, all of the NGLCC webinars since its inception back in April. We are here every Wednesday, 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Questions, email us at webinars@nglcc.org. Next week, we have a very special program ahead. As you know, next week is the March on Washington. So in advance of that, during Webinar Wednesday, we're going to be replaying the wonderful inaugural community and conversation series that we held last week entitled Race, LGBTQ Equality and Equity with Jonathan Capehart, Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, MSNBC contributor, and Washington Post editorial board member. So we're going to take the opportunity to revisit all of the insights that Jonathan Capehart shared with us in last week's Crossroads and Conversation program. And stay tuned, like I said, nglcc.org/webinars and our YouTube page so you can revisit all of this amazing info that Russ shared with us today. So Russ, thank you once again. Thanks to all 65 of you who attended today's program, and we'll see you back next week. Bye, everybody.
Have a great week.
Thank you.